Hello there, Two Legs Faithful, and Happy New Year. It's 2023, and we're back. It is the first Saturday in January, and we normally don't drop a new episode on the first Saturday of every month, but we're going to do something very special to kick off the year, a new series that we're going to revisit. Before we get any further ahead, that's Tom Hunyadi, co-host of Talk More Talk, a Solo Beatles videocast, and the Two Legs co-founder, and my partner in crime. How are you, Thomas?
I'm doing wonderful, Andy. How are you? I hope you had a wonderful New Year's. I hope everybody out there had a happy and safe New Year's as well. And yeah, 2023. I can't believe this. I mean, we're a few months away from episode 200, which is crazy to think of as well. So yeah,
It is. I mean, and just before we went on, before we planned out all our shows through March, so we are
March, yes.
we listen. We don't stop. Somebody said, "Oh, how do you guys
No,
do it?" This is how we do it. We find time, we plan, and we research, and we go. So we wanted to try something new today to give to you all. And it's nothing crazy out of the ordinary. We are going to present to you a kind of an audio archive series review. Some of you know that follow our episodes. We have done kind of an interview kind of review where we find a famous interview that Paul has given, and Tom and I dissect it and figure out what parts are really kind of worth talking points, or were points in time where Paul was really candid and was honest. And we've done that a few times. We're going to do that again. But because we don't drop a new show on the video platform, we wanted to give something special to YouTube people. And the one that we're going to post today is an interview that Paul gave to the BBC on the 14th of December in 1983. Sadly, I don't know who the interviewer was, but I do know it was for the BBC. This is on YouTube. So this isn't anything. We're not uncovering, the Raiders of the Lost Ark here, the Ark of the Covenant. This is anything, this is out there. You can find it. We just wanted to share within our Two Legs community in case anybody didn't know it. And the reason being, Tom and I talked about it, was there are so few times, especially when we're talking about Paul's lesser known albums, where he's actually in the moment discussing the tracks
right.
when they were fresh and when they were new. Yeah, you can hear him talk about Band on the Run and Ram and stuff like that. But stuff like the album that we're going to talk about, that we're going to play the interview today, Pipes of Peace from 1983. This is an interview from when the album was pretty much brand new. The album comes out in October of 83. This is an interview from the 14th of December. And it's about 57 minutes long, and it has the music included. And it's Paul speaking really kind of frankly and openly and honestly about songs like The Other Me, and Average Person, and Keep Undercover, and The Man.
Right.
Which is
and those tracks are like fresh in his head still, so it gives good insight for all these songs.
It gives great insight because, we can read the Luca Perazzis and we can read all the books we want, but if we can hear, from the man himself, pun intended, it's really refreshing. And I actually just stumbled upon this interview a few months back, and I sent it to Tom for his review because that's actually going to be about another episode we're going to be doing in the future about a mystery single, which was on this album, which you can probably figure out which one it was. But that's going to be something else we're doing. It's kind of how I stumbled upon this thing. So the first Saturday of every month, we're going to present another audio interview and kind of intro it and just drop it on our YouTube channel. And because it's unique, our audio list subscribers get something else, usually from our other shows that we drop to them. But this is something just for YouTube. So without any further ado, we'll cut to the interview with Paul. And if anybody knows the name of the chap that interviewed him, please let us know in the comments, because he does a really good job asking him the questions. And they were fresh, as Tom said, they were fresh and they were new, which is why the perspective like that is so important to look at when you're looking at McCartney's history, because things like this are like nuggets, because you don't see them that often in his timeline, where you can actually get him in the moment talking about it. Even when Pipes of Peace came out in the archive collection in 2015, it was a little light in terms of the songs, like him talking about the songs. Do you remember?
Right. Yeah. Well, in Egypt Station, he did, like little snippets of the songs, just talking about the songs and stuff like that. But it's this is the, like you said, the timeline, the freshness of the interview, and this point in time period in 83, he was more candid than he is now. He wasn't afraid to let little things slip here and there that maybe he shouldn't have slipped. But then again, this is the kind of stuff that us as fans, this is the minutia that we really want.
We're going towards, and it's what's even scary is that Pipes of Peace is going to be 40 years old this year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's scary. That's a scary thought right there. those of you that know us, it's an album I feel very strongly about. I think it's probably it's one of my favorite ones of his. I know that there's some tracks that people are like, get out of here. But I really, really think Pipes of Peace is incredibly overrated. I'm sorry, underrated. See? Somebody's reading all the books all the time. I think it's incredibly underrated. I do. I enjoy Average Person. I enjoy those songs. Tom, what's your quick take on Pipes of Peace? Middle of the road, right? When we ranked it,
I mean, yeah, I put it towards the end of the barrel, bottom of the barrel for me. Listen, I'm not saying that I hate it. I don't hate it. It's just over the years, and the stuff that the quality of stuff that we've gotten since, 97, it's just, I think it's just so much better.
And it is, but I kind of look at these things. I try not to compare this, even though we've ranked them. We've ranked everything. I try to kind of keep things with the time period. So, like for like that '80s period, I think it's one of his best albums in the '80s. I'm not going to rank it. I'm not going to rank it ahead of Egypt Station or Flaming Pie, because clearly those albums are better than Pipes of Peace. They just are. But if I'm looking at it in a 1980s kind of time frame, I think it's easily one of his best albums of the 1980s.
Oh, sure. Okay. I mean,
my opinion.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And you're obviously you're do it. I mean, that's one of the things I love about you too, as a man. You don't shy away from your opinions. I mean, obviously, I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with you about it. But you know what? I have seen people on Facebook, talk very glowingly of Pipes of Peace. It does have its fans. Absolutely.
Sure. Well, there's an article that I was looking at when I was researching this. Guy that interviewed him for the archive in 2015. The guy who interviewed him told him, like, Pipes of Peace is my favorite album of all time of his. And he says that to him in the interview.
It's like the guy pulling up to Paul in the 70s, or with the little Volkswagen bus, waving the wildlife. It's the best thing,
Hey, man, I'm going up in the mountains and I'm taking this thing with me, man. It's the best thing you've ever made. Yeah. So I think that if you haven't heard this interview, and I want to give credit to the original uploader. The original uploader is a guy by the name of Winkler Films. So this is something that he found, obviously. So maybe he had it. So credit to him as well, because it was his post originally. And without any further ado, we're going to give you the BBC interview from December of '83, where Paul chews the fat on Pipes of Peace and the track surrounding it. We hope you enjoy this. We're going to do something new the first Saturday of every month. We'll pull another interview from another period in time and post it. And until then, we're going to be recording our shows, and we'll have new shows for you a week from today. So rock on, rock on, everybody.
You are a success. You are a star. So why the amount of energy that you put into it?
I actually enjoy it, If I didn't have to do it, I think I'd try and do it as a hobby. Just because I really do like doing it. It actually seems strange to me why anyone would think I wouldn't like doing it.
Yeah, but you also involve yourself with all the peripheral activities, like people like me coming down, doing television programs, doing what they call promotion, which is hard work, gets away from the real business, which is music, and yet you're prepared to do it.
Well, I could have you chucked out.
That's the point.
No, I don't mind it, really. I mean, it's like, I suppose you get to like the whole flavour of the whole thing. And I never really hated doing interviews too much. And I suppose, if you're in the thing of sort of trying to flog vinyl, to put it bluntly or crudely, which is sort of what the whole thing's roughly about.
Let me ask you about flogging vinyl. That isn't money, though. It can't be money. It's hit, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's the word hit, isn't it?
I don't know what it is, actually. I just do like to do it. If I didn't do it, I'd have to think of something else to do. It's what I do, I suppose it's like you. You wake up in the morning, you think, what am I going to do today? Oh, I'll go down and be a DJ for the BBC, and then I'll go and open a fair or two, and, you do what you do. And if it was possible for you tomorrow not to do it, I'm not sure whether you'd change. Everyone thinks, I think when you win the Pools War, I'll wait till I tell the boss what to do, But I don't have those kind of problems. So I do like it, actually. I just like doing it. I think it's more magic than shifting vinyl. That's not really how I see it. But something about it I like.
Let's talk about the album. Take us through track by track.
Say is the second track on side 1. And that started out when Michael Jackson gave me a ring on the telephone, and he said he'd like to make some hits. So I thought, well, that sounds keen, you know, he sounds positive. And I'd never met him, but I loved his singing and his dancing. And I'd seen him on telly and stuff, so I was keen to meet him anyway. So he came over to England, he was coming over, so I said, let's get together and that. We sat around for an afternoon, and I was plonking a guitar, and we came up with the basis of Say, Say, Say. He went back to his hotel and wrote a lot of words for it, and then we sort of thrashed the whole thing together. And that's how we done that one.
But it just does interest me how you make contact. You sit down with Michael Jackson, you've never met the guy before, and what actually happens? What's the process?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like anyone with anyone. I just start talking to him and saying, you know, just asking him about his life, telling him about mine. Sit down and sort of just, I don't know, you just ad-lib it, you know, just start talking about stuff. I can't think of any specific thing you do, you know, you don't, right, sit down there, Michael, now we're going to communicate. Look at this now, son. You know, it's not going. I just get out a guitar and we just sit around, you know. I think we know we're both not going to really say much. But it's not so much about talking, actually. It's about letting ideas come to you. I mean, he's one of the most laid-back, most relaxed people you'll ever meet. But the thing is, interviews do make him uncomfortable. You know, I sort of said to him, why don't you do interviews, mate? He said, I don't feel comfortable. How's that for a Michael Jackson impression?
Very good.
No, but he's... and I can go for that. I mean, I know exactly what he means. I've done it all these years. And you do them, they're not that bad to do. But he's very shy of doing them. And I know what he's talking about. I mean, I'm just... Maybe, I don't know, I bluff it out a bit more. So, right, well, let's do it, you know, go and do it. And I don't really find them that bad. It's funny, actually, when we were doing the video for Say, 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 we were in California and a lot of school kids came around, and Michael's fella said, do you mind meeting all these school kids? And Michael would like to and all that. And I said, no, I don't mind. I'm happy to, you know, it's just a bunch of kids. So I'm walking out there, and we're going down the line. You feel like the president or somebody will vote for me, and not him, you know. And we're both of us going down this line, and everyone saying, well, I'm so pleased to meet you and all this stuff. And halfway through it, in the London vernacular, Michael bottles out. He says, oh, I really can't do this, you know, I really hate this. I mean, he says, it's all right, you know. Anyway, I don't want to kind of go gossiping about him too much, but it is, he finds that kind of thing a bit difficult. So I think he gets a reputation of being tense in those kind of situations.
Having met you once, I said, looked at the video and said, oh, well, that's McCartney, of course. McCartney all over there. Am I wrong or right?
You're wrong, Si. Your bum's out the window, in fact. No, it was Bob Giraldi who's the director. He came over, and that was the way he saw Michael and I. And I thought it was a good way to get round the age gap.
The age gap?
Yeah, well, I'm twice his age, aren't I, nearly? I mean, he's like 23.
But that never occurred to anybody, I don't think.
No, because it was done well. If it hadn't have been done well, it might have. And, you know, I think that was one of the good things about it, though I was a kind of elder brother figure, which is how I feel to him anyway. I mean, I treat him a bit like that, and we have a laugh and stuff. But it's not deadly serious. We actually have a great time together.
A lot of care and attention put into that, and presumably a lot of time as well.
It was 3 very big, hectic days, yeah. But it was one of those, you know, up early and then just work all day, ridiculously. But working with Mike, he's so talented that when we have to do a thing, you don't have to think about his bit, and he's doing it, and it's all good. And you've got to work to keep up with him, you know. So it was great, actually. It was a crazy time. But after the 3 days, you know, I needed a good kip. But that was it.
Let's talk about the rest of the album.
The Other Me is a track I say stuff that obviously that I think, you know, stuff that isn't just completely made up from the imagination. Will generally be something that's been running through my mind, and one of the themes that I sometimes think about is the other me that can be a bit better than I normally am. You know,
in what way?
I don't know, how you'd wish you'd be. I mean, if you have an argument and you sit after it and you sort of think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, I don't like these. And so that would have been the other me that wouldn't have argued. And that kind of idea, you know, that inside all of us there is someone quite groovy. And you meet him maybe when you're drunk, and you meet him a few times, you know, but he generally doesn't come out.
Well, the fantasist.
You know, the other you.
Since we talked to you about Broad Street, we know the pattern of it. How's it going?
It's going great, actually. Most of the photography's been done, and George Martin and myself are now working on the music. And we've got it down now to we've done the songs in it. There I think it's 12 songs. It grows all the time, this film.
All original songs, all McCartney songs?
No, they're a mixture. Some of them, it's a kind of equal balance. Some of them are old songs I'm known for, some of them are new songs. Some of them are not old, but kind of the recent past couple of years. So it's really a mixture that was basically chosen for the film, to kind of support what was being said in the film. You know, we knew we were going to go to a big film studio in the plot, so we wanted something that we could do a big filmy thing with. So we chose a song like Ballroom Dancing off Tug of War that we could all dress up as Teds and we could all really get into. You know, we could do a big production thing. So they're chosen for reasons like that. So it ended up as a bit of a mixture of my stuff. And then, at the point we're at the moment, we're doing the incidental music. So when you see a car travelling from there to there, they nearly always have a diddle-diddle or something. And that's very interesting to do, because we're just making that up to picture, something I've never done before. So it's great. It's good fun doing it, and it should be finished pretty soon.
And the cinemas in this country?
Yeah, for the cinema.
Tracy Ullman was talking about it, and she said she didn't understand a word of it, but as far as she could gather, it was one long chase with a lot of fun inside.
Well, what happened was, the producer, bless his little cotton socks, decided in his great wisdom that he wouldn't give people scripts. And that he just would give them their little bit, and, you know, and Tracy's thing can be, you can take it, and it still makes sense outside the thing. So a lot of the people in the film still don't know what the film's about. You know, they know what their bit's about, but they weren't there for all the rest of the filming. So they're all wandering around saying, well, I know what this is about. Oh, I see that, you know. And it's being glued together now at the moment, and it makes sense the more you see of it. I say, Tracy hasn't actually seen most of it. She's going to be surprised.
For release when, Paul?
I think summer 84. If we're all still here.
Okay, let's get back to the album. Keep Undercover.
Keep Undercover was the first track we did when we were doing Tug of War sessions, and it was going to go on that album, but it didn't fit, and it wasn't finished at the time.
It didn't fit?
It didn't fit in with the mood of the album. It seemed lighter, which fits more in with this mood, which is more poppier, I think.
The criticism in the States has almost invariably been exactly that. It's pop, not what we expect.
Well, of course, you know, really it's blues delta, but what do they know?
Well, it just struck me. I looked at the Rolling Stone review, which I thought was the most absurd thing I've ever read in my life.
I don't know. You know, you can't expect good reviews anymore. There was a time when you could sort of bring something out and someone would say, this is quite good, I'm not that keen on this, I think you should do this, but, you know, there's something good about it. But I suppose nowadays that people like the Stones and people who are established like that, the first thing a journalist's almost got to say is, well, let's get this straight, it's rubbish, and they're old men and it's old hat. But I detect a bit of a change of mood, actually, because over the years, one of the things I thought that was crazy about this thing, I mean, I think the newspapers were nice for a while. I don't know if you remember that. A long time ago. And then they got really sour, and they were kind of against everything, against Rod Stewart and me and people who were sort of established. And I think in some cases, I think obviously, like, it was quite right. There were a lot of cobwebs needed wiping away. I think so. After the 60s, there had been a lot of kind of, you know, cobwebs, I think. So I think some of it was good. A lot of it had to be shocking and had to really be something other than what had gone down. So peace and love did go out the window, and it was like war and hate, kind of, or, you know, you knife yourself for a laugh time. And which I don't think a lot of people could get with, but it needed to happen. And I think during that period, the musical press, a lot of them, thought they were that too, and decided to be real heavy, man. And you know, some of them I actually knew who weren't heavy at all. They were funny little journalists. I mean, you know, okay, so maybe he knows something and stuff, but he didn't know that much. And in this particular case, I thought that what was happening was they were slagging off the people, and all the people, as you say, it would hurt them. So it was only repressing them. It was just like teachers slapping you and repression. That's really what it was to some degree, I think. And I think you found a lot of the older guys who were quite willing to kind of keep going and love their music, because they did love it. They're getting slagged off so much, it was like, oh, God, who wants this? And I know a lot of people were turned off the thing. But I think that what's happened is that a lot of public were turned off with that attitude too. I've found in the last few years a lot of people say, I don't read the musicals anymore.
That's
just
right.
Don't do it, man. You know, I've given them up. And I think you're finding now with some of the other publications that are coming in, where it's like a decent picture of your star hero and something vaguely nice about him, and some facts and figures and the words of his song, which is really what fans, I think, sort of want. I don't think they want to hear. I think what's happening is the sales are coming back for those. So these slaggers off have realised they're talking themselves out of a job, which isn't too clever, whichever way they look at it. I wrote what seemed to me just a kind of little tune that was very, very simple. And sometimes when you get tunes like that, you worry about them. You think it's just too simple. It must be another song, or maybe it's just too simple to just sit there. But with So Bad, I liked it, you know, and I don't want to go on just saying how I like all my own stuff and that, but this particular tune, you know, it struck me as being a nice, simple tune. And main memory for me on it is the reason why it says Boy, I Love You So Bad is that I used to sing Girl, I Love You So Bad, and what happened was my son, who's 6, was feeling a bit left out, you know, and I could sort of see this, so I had to work in Boy, I Love You So Bad too.
Let me ask you just about your family, because you've got the situation now where your kids are alive and kicking in every single way. How do they regard Dad, and how do they relate Dad in terms of their friends? Because there must be all that problem.
I think I'm always very aware of that, because I know what it was like at school, you know, and even if anyone's dad was a policeman, you know, they got kicked about. But my kids, they seem to kind of like to support me. Now, you know, I don't know how much of that's real, whatever, but I'll believe as much of it as as they'll let me believe.
I was just thinking, you were on Noel Edmonds the other week. Yeah. I mean, do they sit and watch you and say, oh, God, why did you say that?
No, they're not. That's what I mean. Strangely enough, you know, they don't. They say, that was great, Dad, and Mum looked great, and it was good and all that. They're very supportive, actually.
That's great. Let's get back to side 2 again.
Okay, side 2. The song The Man was after Michael Jackson and myself had written Say, Say, Say. Michael wanted to keep going, and I had a bit of an idea for an introduction, which is the introduction of The Man. And I was playing it to him, you know, on the piano and sort of saying, look, how's about this, guys and gals, for the start of a little idea? So I'm going, played the intro, and I got to the little bit of the start of the words, and I said, and it could go something like, there's a man, you know, and I kind of just started blocking it out, just the rough idea of it all, the chords and that. And the way we worked was we had a cassette going. And then after that little session, he took it back to his hotel.
Did you look at the words and possibly slightly resent the idea of somebody else taking the idea and then adapting it?
No, I liked the words, you know, I liked what he'd done and stuff, and it seemed to fit. I'm not really fussy, you know, I do so much, and I've had so many hits, that I'm not really jealous of anyone else having them. I'm not, you know, because I've done very well, you know, so I can't afford to just sort of sit back and not be too jealous when someone comes up with something that's good.
I just wondered how the hell you stand back and judge something when you're so involved with it.
That's one of the most difficult things, I think, about doing anything, is standing back and seeing how it is. I suppose if you do a painting, you can do a thing and think, wow, that's it, it's incredible, you know. Or, you know, it happens in millions of ways. Then the next morning you can look at it and draw the curtains and the daylight comes in on it, and oh God, and it's horrible. You know, and I was had a few too many, and it looked great last night, or whatever, you know.
Did you ever get that happen to you?
And, oh yeah, I mean, not paintings, because I don't really do much painting, but, yeah, you know, we can do a track and I can really think it's good, and then listen to it the next day and think, well, you know, we should do that again. Fix that.
You see, I can imagine, he said, I'm putting myself in your position, which is always a dangerous thing to do. If I went out on a limb and I said, that's terrific on Wednesday night, and I came in on Thursday morning, I might find it hard to admit that I was wrong. In fact, I do. Every day find it hard.
Well, you know, that's another way to go. I think that's all right, too. You know, if you want to bluff it out. That's okay. By me, Si. No, I do that, too, you know. Sometimes you just can't admit it's no good, and you bluff your way through it, you know. But it's a strange mixture, isn't it, life? You know, let me tell you all about it. So, have you got a couple of hours? No, you know. I mean, I do find myself getting a bit comical when you start saying things like that. But when you are 40, 41, as I am, you do start kind of thinking, well, you know, it is strange about life. At 20, you just say, well, that's funny, c'est la vie. You don't really think it. By the time you're about 40, you know, you are really thinking, cool, it's a pretty amazing affair, isn't it, you know? With all the stuff we get up to.
Is it good or bad?
It's all right. In fact, it's amazing. Quite amazing. It just depends what mood you're in, doesn't it? I think. Sweetest Little Show in Town was originally 1/3 of a medley thing. We strung 3 little pieces together. It's something I've done for a while now. You know, if you've got... Some songs won't go beyond the first verse. It's not easy to develop them. You get an idea, and you say it all in the first verse, and then sometimes you look for a little extension in the second verse, and it's just not there. You sort of feel, well, I've said everything about that song just in that first verse, and now you can get on to how her brother feels about it or something, or, you know, and you look for things, but it doesn't come easily. So you find yourself stuck with just what was going to be a song, but has stopped short, you know, and it's like a little painting instead of a big one. And what I found myself doing over the years with things like that is seeing if any of them will join together to make a sort of longer piece. And this was going to go with 2 others, but we didn't like the 2 others in the end. It didn't join up right.
There was a great quote from Ringo Starr about 5 weeks ago that I saw in the States, which I don't think was apocryphal, I think it's true. And he was asked not specifically about Pete Brown's book, but about all the books that exhumed the Beatles and all the rest of it. And he was asked if he would do an autobiography. And the quote was, no, it's my life, I know what happened, I don't give a damn what anybody else says. Which I thought was a great quote. I just wondered if you'd agree with that, and how you view all those exploitation books.
Yeah, well, I feel about the same as he does, and I know George does. I mean, and I know John did. You know, you generally, you know that when you get to a certain level of fame, people are going to just bring out books no matter what, you know, and you get Brigitte Bardot saying, I want to go to Saint-Tropez, and they're still there snapping her. Or you get Greta Garbo saying, I want to be alone. It seems to be unavoidable, really. And so, to tell you the truth, I don't read them most of the time. Peter Brown's one was a betrayal, because he came to our houses and he said, it's going to be a lovely book and I'm really going to do a smashing thing here. And he had some fellow with him who was actually writing it, ghosting. Show everyone what he'd written, and we'd all say, well, that's okay, or that's a bit strong, or whatever. And he basically just went for it in a big way, as they say. He just got back to the States and just decided to just publish it. He never showed us and in the end he sent me a copy of it saying, I hope you like it, you know, isn't it lovely and all that. I'm afraid I had a little burning ceremony with that particular number. But that's it, you know, what can you do? You know, some people are genuine friends, some people aren't.
But do they hurt you? Because, I mean, I find them pretty distasteful.
It hurts.
They don't concern me directly.
It leaves my left toe throbbing.
In that case, we'll leave it at that.
Through Our Love. Through Our Love is a love song.
Is it to anybody?
It's, well, to me, it's to Linda, who's my missus. For anybody else listening to it, hopefully it's for their friend, whoever it be. In my mind, it's a good one for, like, newly marrieds. If you're going to get behind marriage and not just sort of think, oops, we got married, what do we do now? If you're going to get behind it, you took actually vows, and you can either... We giggled through ours, but afterwards, you know, because it's also funny standing up there saying it all dead serious now, and Linda was hooting away. But afterwards, you realise you had stood up in front of someone and you've said, yes, I will, and I'll promise to be okay to her, and, you know, in sickness and in health. And I think there can be a great feeling, if you're lucky, with newlyweds, where you do start thinking, hey, you know, this is different, and we can do stuff we couldn't do, and we're now... I had someone talking about yesterday, two halves of two people are really only a half each, and when they sort of come together in something like love or a good relationship like that.
Is that really how you feel?
Oh, yeah, and I do. I think that is great, you know, when you have those sort of periods when hopefulness is at its height. I think that's good for you. I think it feels great. It's optimistic. You can get on with things without just worrying all the time. It'd be nice to think it could last longer than it lasts, but then you get whatever you get. You know, it's suddenly, you know, Maxwell's Silver Hammer or something for our older viewers. You know, somehow something will go wrong, something will happen, because that's what I mean. That's life.
Are you an up and down person?
Yeah. I've never met anyone.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I've never actually met anyone who isn't. I've met some people who are a little more consistent than I am. But you know, in this thing, through our love, the thing for me is like the optimism, so that even if you're up or down, I like optimistic statements myself.
Is it because you use them to cheer yourself?
Yeah, I feel that this is a kind of... life is something that no one knows about, even Monty Python.
Right.
Nobody's got it down. The Pope, from the Pope to the lowliest vicar in the thing, you might think they got stuff down, but I've discovered nobody's got it down. I've met prime ministers, presidents, the whole bit, you know, and they're all very just like us. So, generally, I think it's agreed, you know, that for most people it's up and down. You know, you got a job, you lose your job. Something's great, you win the pools, or whatever you win that's good, and then something bad happens. And I think that is why you need some kind of faith, even if it is only, it'll work out. I mean, with the Beatles, our faith used to be something will happen. Whatever happened, you know, we'd be broken down in a van up the M1, you know, and the windscreen had kicked in, so someone hit a pebble or something, we'd be crawling along trying to see the curb, you know, and you still got it. Ringo saying left a bit, and I'm pulling left, he's saying no. And he's got his hands mixed up. But all of that, you know, all the craziness going down. And we say, God, you know, what's going to happen, you know? And someone is going to say, something will happen. And that, to me, that's why I like optimistic statements. Just as someone goes, ding, they go, oh, and for a second it's okay again, and it just gives you the strength.
Because you used Ringo, but used is a horrible word, used is. You used Ringo, exactly. Eric Stewart, Andy Mackay, all hand-picked people.
Yeah.
When they come in, do they... It's difficult. You're talking to a non-musician. Do they contribute in a real sense, or do you tell them what to do and then they add bits?
It's a bit of both, really. If people just contribute, they can sometimes say, well, you know, what do you want me to do? It's your record, it's your song. So I find a bit of both is the one. Never saying to anyone, this is what you do, and don't you dare go to the left or right of that. That gets them, you know, nobody likes that. But by the same argument, I say sometimes if you don't tell people anything, I've had it where people have told me off for telling them too much, and then I've backed off completely. I said, okay, well, you work it out. For about half an hour, they say, well, come on, produce us, you know. What do you want? Do you want me to do that or that?
What do you do then?
You say, I think it'd be good if you did that. And if that, you know.
You surround yourself by people who are familiar to you. And people who are first-rate at what they do. Is that because you need their musical ability, or because you feel more secure with them, with familiar names like Ringo?
Well, actually, there's only a few familiar names. Michael Jackson I'd never recorded with ever before. Ringo, of course, I had a lot. Steve Gadd I'd never recorded with till Tug of War album. Eric I'd never worked with before, except the last couple of years. But before that, I'd never worked with him. Andy, I've worked with a bit. Stanley I hadn't done before. So, in actual fact, I don't know a lot of these people, and some of the times that's worse. I mean, I wish I had sort of just got people around me who just was a security blanket, you know, because they've got to meet me, I've got to meet them, and we've got to then do music together.
So what's the criteria? Harry asked. That was
good music.
Stupid question number
no,
3.
No, it wasn't stupid question. No, because I do understand what you mean about. It is cozy, and in a way, I do like an easy life, you know. So it is very good to have Ringo around drumming, because I know him and he knows me, and George Martin. It's good to have your security blankets. No bones about that. You know, because why not?
Pipes of Peace. Tell me about it.
Pipes of Peace. I was actually I got a letter off George Melly, an old friend. All right, and he said that some society that was looked after kids wasn't the Pestalozzi people who are the choir of children that sing on it, but it was some society kind of, you know, United Children's of the World job. We're interested in getting a song that would sort of say, point up the plight of kids, you know, a charity song, really. And so I plonked away for a bit and got a bit of the song, which is I'd call the verse, this first bit, in answer to George's request. Then it sort of changed a little bit and became Pipes of Peace, which I thought, well, you know, that's still doing what he wanted, really, you know, which was like anything really to say to people, I feel this way about all those poor kids in Beirut or wherever it is at any given time. I feel that it is good to help rather than turn your back. And so, therefore, I mean, you find, I suppose, I don't know if you do, but I find a lot of people these days worried about how it's all going to work out, or even if it's going to get beyond next year, you know. So, really, for me, it's just, if I've got some kind of opportunity to say, let's look after the kids, you know, and let's be, in 60s terminology, let's vibe it, and let's do it right, instead of just really get it wrong and blow ourselves up. I find myself doing that, you know. I don't really want to preach, but I just want to say that I think that kind of thing is a good idea. I think most people do support it, strangely enough.
First of all, people will accuse you of preaching. And secondly, that people, particularly in this country, oddly enough, will be embarrassed by an honest statement like that. Does it worry you that they will say either of those two things?
Well, I don't know, you know. I don't really know if they will. You know, we're guessing. Oh, there's bound to be one out there. No, what happens is you have to not let it worry you. In truth, you know, you're just a person, and anyone who slags off anything, you don't say, wow, isn't it great? Look at this. Here, love, look at this. He really hates me. Isn't this great? You know, I don't think there's anyone like that. So you never really like it. I'm a bit aware these days that I can be, you know, to some people embarrassing. I suppose really my answer to them would be, well, just don't buy it and don't listen to it. Turn it off whenever you hear it. It's simple as that, really. Anybody else who likes it, I'm not going to stop it just because they don't like it, because there's plenty of people who do like it, and I actually enjoy doing it. So rock on, Tommy.